Snapchat, Instagram, Fortnite, TikTok. I thought I was relatively across the apps that my younger cousins and my friends' kids were using. And then one asked me if I had Omegle. And then another mentioned something called Discord. And I realized that there are a stack of chatting apps that I'd never heard of. So I figure it's time to get schooled. And if, like me, those are new words or app names to you, if you have a young person in your life who perhaps got a new screen device or a gaming console this Christmas, then lean in because my next guest is going to catch you and me up on what's popular right now. Paul Litherland is a former police officer and the manager of Surf Safe Online. Good morning to you, Paul.
Morning, Lucy. How you going?
Yeah, really well, thank you. You've got your finger on the pulse in this area much more than me. Can you tell me a little bit about what are some of the apps that are gaining popularity right now and might not be those typical ones that I mentioned earlier?
Oh wow! I mean, it's so continuing to just go up and down all the time, Lucy. It's just you take your finger off the pulse as you suggest, and something else comes up. But the big ones at the moment, I mean, Discord's massive in Australia, and we've also got a couple of other gaming apps as well. One in particular, Among Us, which are probably the big ones at the moment. I mean, Snapchat still sort of leveling out at this stage. Instagram has continued to grow in popularity, but just a couple of little peripheral ones as well, as you've suggested, Omegle, which is probably one of the worst ones out there in my experience, and another couple little ones which probably sort of pop up and down as well. So, yeah, it's just a matter of trying to stay on the front foot.
Well, let's start with Omegle then. You said that that's one of the worst ones out there. Tell me why you hold that view. What worries you about Omegle as an app?
Oh, for me, it's just the type of people, the number of people who are using it. Now, for our listeners who don't know what Omegle is, it's a very simple website. It does have an app, Lucy, but it's not very popular because of its design. But the website, you basically jump online, don't even need to create an account, don't even need to register. You just open the site, click on chat, and as soon as you do that, your camera will come on and start streaming live video of you. Someone else randomly logged in at that time, their camera will come on and start streaming live vid. So you're chatting cam to cam with a random stranger. Now, there could be up to 45,000 people in a session at a time. So that in itself, in its infancy, is quite risky, but the problem we have is there's a lot of people using the site who are exposing themselves, who are coercing children into engaging in sexual acts and all that sort of stuff. So it is one of the most reckless sites out there, in my opinion, because of its design and more importantly because of the lack of, I suppose, protection for users.
Okay, so that's Omegle. A couple of the others that you mentioned, you said Among Us. That's a really popular one at the moment. I think that's a bit more of a game. Is that right?
Yeah. Among Us is massive. I mean, Fortnite gained some very strong popularity in early 2019, and it grew really, really quickly. And I'm putting Among Us sort of in that level as well. Now, if you've got a child who's probably under the age of 13, there is a very high chance that they're playing Among Us, especially if you've got a boy and he's a gamer. It's a good little game. It's well designed to a degree. It's a competitive game where it's almost like a challenge. You go into a little environment and you're competing against your mates. So it's not a bad little design from a gaming perspective, but again, as you've suggested in your intro, it's just the chat capability exposes kids to conversations, to people in environments that you probably would never have happened when you or I maybe with kids, mate.
No, and I guess that's the thing, right? No one's saying in and of itself that the gaming apps are bad or that kids shouldn't play with their friends, but it's who you're connecting to and whether you know them and whether your kids know them, I guess, isn't it?
And that's so important. And a lot of people will sort of go, okay, well, that's it, get off. It's scary. You shouldn't be doing this. And of course, to a degree, I understand that. But for me, so much of it's about conversations. Many of these apps and games are actually okay to a degree, but it's my message so often to schools and to organisations. It's not what we use, but how we use, Lucy. So, but the problem we have is where I get frustrated as an educator now and as an ex-police officer is the design. It's, I mean, an Omegle is a classic example of that is you in the physical world, you can't create a playground where a child can walk into it openly and be exposed to massive risk. In the real world, we can't do that, but online we are still allowed to do that. So this is where I'm trying to push for change there, pardon me, and it's a difficult struggle, but some people finally now are starting to come back on board, and it's stuff like that we need to just keep an eye on. So it's just those conversations with parents and grandparents and kids, and hopefully we can go from there.
It's 2 minutes to 8 on ABC Radio Perth and WA. You're listening to Paul Litherland, manager of Surf Online Safe, an internet awareness business, also a former police officer. So we've touched on a few of the apps that parents should be a little bit aware of there, but there is actually also an app that you mentioned to me, Beacon. It's been created to just sort of help parents keep across what's going on in the social media space.
Yeah, I mean, I've been working with Telethon Kids now for a couple of years, and they've introduced an app called Beacon. Now, this is a free app for anyone to download. So if you visit my website or visit the Telethon Kids Institute website, it's just a great little app. I mean, with great respect to many educators out there and websites out there, Lucy, some sites mainly sort of just here's a response, go out and educate. But with Beacon, it not only just gives you an opportunity to read up on an app or a website, but it also gives you an opportunity to push into different areas. So if you go, okay, well, I want to talk about Among Us, Beacon will then go, well, do you know your kids are probably also playing this game or interacting in that environment? So it just pushes you into different areas, and it's a great resource for parents. So I really encourage parents to sort of download and have a run through it, because it does give some great information.
Paul Litherland, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thanks, Lucy. All the very best to you, and season's greetings to yourself and all your listeners, and take care.